So, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to today's DevOps.com webinar, brought to you by Techstrong and ConnectAll. My name is Cody J. Brown. I'm the host of Techstrong Learning, and we have an exciting panel for you this morning. First, I do have just a couple of housekeeping notes. Today's session is being recorded, so if you miss any of our discussion, or you'd like to rewatch or maybe share with a friend, the on-demand recording will be made available shortly after we conclude our live session. If you have any questions, we want you to go ahead and send those in to us using that Q&A tab, which you'll find on the right side of your screen. That's also where you're going to find the chat tab, and that's where we want you to speak with your fellow audience members. Let us know your thoughts, or maybe just from where you're tuning in. We have 4 polls throughout today's program, so we want your participation there as we're going to be discussing the results afterwards. And you can find a copy of the slides in the Handouts tab where you are free to download them at your own leisure. Finally, we do have 4 $25 Amazon gift cards to give out, so be sure to stick around till the very end when we will give those out. And our topic today is why you must understand value-added and non-value-added work to accelerate your digital transformation. And I'm joined by Evelyn Orlich, Research Director at Research in Action, and Lance Knight, President and COO of ConnectAll. Evelyn and Lance, thank you both so much for joining me. Lance, you want to give us a little bit of an introduction?
Well, first, I want to know, can I win one of those cards?
No, sir.
No, okay, I didn't think so. So from an introduction perspective, I reached out with Evelyn a while back, and I said, it'd be great if we did a webinar together on this topic. And she dove into it and created this great presentation that we're going to go over. And I'm kind of passionate about understanding how to apply some of these lean principles to what we're doing in value stream managed software delivery and development. So anyway, that's my introduction to what I'm really looking forward to this. And Evelyn, you want to take it from here and prompt me and ask questions and run through the whole thing, right? I'm so excited to be doing a webinar with you.
I am too, Lance. Absolutely. Thank you both to both of you. And Lance is actually not, he's understating his excitement. He and I had multiple conversations on this topic, and he is absolutely passionate about this. And so am I. This is why we said, let's talk about it. Let's bring some light into the community of those who are interested in value stream management and really shed some details on value added and non-value added. That's really the core today. I'll be giving a little bit of background and definitions, a variety of market trends, as I am a research director and have done research here and formerly at Forrester Research. So I'm kind of a little bit of the blue ribbon around all of that and around Lance, but Lance is kind of at the center of that. I want to encourage you to ask questions. Don't be shy. We have some great moments together. And with that, let's just get started. The most important thing to think about is, first of all, digital transformation. A topic which some people, when you mention it, they roll their eyes. They're like, leave me alone, or are getting excited about it. And what I thought I will share with you is where do we stand? What is the current state? What are the challenges? And what are some examples of organizations? So now the current state already starts out to become a little challenge. When we think about it and look at the different research, we know that, for example, PricewaterhouseCoopers says that 60% of executives are saying that digital transformation are their most critical growth in 2022 and will be in 23. IDC says that the global spending for digital transformation will go up to $2.8 trillion in 2025. And if we look at MIS Quarterly, they say that a recent analysis suggested that 87% of programs in the digital transformation actually fail. And Boston Consulting Group said that 70% is failing. So we're kind of honing in on the current state a little bit. And you can see there is some challenges with it. So with that, we wanted to find out how would you rate your current digital maturity in your company. So if you wanted to quickly just do a poll here and be with us on that, that would be really great, because that will give us an indication of where we are relative to those who are here, and why we are waiting for that poll, I wanted to share a few other things with you. The first one is, what are the challenges? And Lance, happy to have you chime in, but let me share with what I know and what I hear in terms of the challenges on digital transformation. First of all, a lot of poor onboarding on the project. So project management or product management is a challenge. Many organizations are thinking shiny new objects and are actually putting that into the existing either poor processes or existing poor architecture and infrastructure. Resistance to change across not just individuals who are impacted, but also those who have to make decisions. Then the next one is quite important. Miscommunication of goals, not necessarily measuring the goals, and not having the right metrics to measure the goals are another 3 challenges we're seeing. I said already that the tech stack is outdated, and that causes some challenges. There is sometimes fear of temporary failure because the success isn't as immediate, and there is a lack of skills. Now, lack of skills in digital transformations can be across people in the human field or in the tech field or in the process field, in the business field. It depends on where and what you're addressing. And then overestimating the benefits and not understanding the costs. So those are all really, really big challenges relative to what we have heard. Cody, can we share the results of the poll? All right. So how would you rate the current digital maturity? So we have just getting started. So I think this is reflective of where and what we have seen relative to our audience. So great. Thanks for sharing that with us. And for those of you getting started, hopefully you will get out of this conversation that value stream management is essential. But I'm jumping ahead. Let's continue.
The interesting thing is you're going through that is what is a digital transformation? It's an interesting question, right? And I remember starting, changing the way manufacturing operates, back in the 90s and 80s to do order entry with screens on the shop floor and flow of materials on the shop floor. So what is a digital transformation? And I think that's a big problem today of understanding that as well.
Yeah, it is. Excellent point, Lance. It is not digitization, it's digital transformation. So turning something into something which is digital is not necessarily all. It has to have, and it has to span across the processes and the people. And it's a different way of conducting business. Let me give you some examples. I searched for a few, and there's no preference. IKEA, for example, or IKEA as we call them. A Swedish furniture company, and just down the road here from me, and maybe you have one and maybe you are a customer, but what they have done is they actually turned in their IT department, they turned their IT department into a business advantage, because right now, most everything you can try out online, and the shop becomes more of a shop floor, or the shop in itself becomes much more of a fulfillment center. So there's an example. Another example is Adobe Creative Cloud. We use Adobe Creative Cloud in our business, but it used to be something where you bought a license. Now you can actually buy a subscription. So they had to change a lot of things to make that happen. They were having some challenges. It took some time. They had some issues and some revenue problems, but they stuck with it. And today they're very successful. Another one, my husband would love this, but he's not here to listen as he's in construction, is Caterpillar, those big yellow things, machines, and machines and many other things. But they actually can predict through sensors the maintenance on their machines. They can anticipate the replacement of parts, and they can assist in the automation of certain operations, right? Those are 3 examples I can think of. Any other ones, Lance, you can think of?
Well, so when I come to thinking about looking at a digital transformation, a lot of companies and a lot of people think, and it's just my opinion, I don't have any research for this, so correct me if you think I'm wrong, but a lot of people think that's creating more for your customer to do a digital part of the organization, but it actually goes across the whole organization. So when you're looking at how your call centers are working and how your organization is working, all of that can be digital transformed as well, right? So
Yeah.
I see some organizations where they don't make a digital product, right? Like I used to make turbine blades. There's nothing digital there, right? It's just titanium.
Right.
But the method and processes of creating that and the technology and the things and how all that works together can go through a digital transformation to drive greater efficiency through your
Yeah.
shop floor. So it's not just the shopping cart. It's not just your ERP. It's how you look at how things flow through your organization and how that can be digitally transformed. And that's the same when it comes to software development and delivery.
Excellent. Very, very good. I think
Well
that
said
is,
with COVID, huh? See, there you go.
yeah, very good, Lance. Excellent, excellent, super duper. All right, let's continue. Let's go a little bit deeper. I used to live in Colorado, so as Lance knows, I descend the mountains from top to bottom because I used to live close to the Rocky Mountains. As this is about value stream management, most important, let's quickly just define what value stream management is. As I think Lance already mentioned, it's a business practice, and it's a lean business practice that helps determine the value of software development and delivery across the efforts and resources. And that is important to remember. And as Lance was saying, in the past, this topic was very much used in manufacturing and other places where it was more about the production of goods and services, in this case, across the different constituencies of and who were playing and being part of the product. And adopting that into how we develop software and deliver software is exactly what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So that's anything to add, Lance, or can I continue?
Yep. Well, my definition is just a little bit different, but it's the same definition in the heart of what it is, right? It's the steps and processes. Well, that's what a value stream is. But value stream management is a principle of looking at your value stream and determining how to be more efficient, drive higher quality, increase value through it, all of those things. And value stream management itself, I'd like to say it's, and I think we're confused on this one, not you and me, but the world, it's not the metrics. That's a piece of it. You need metrics and analytics to figure out where you can be more efficient and deliver great value. But value stream management itself is looking at the value stream and determining where can I remove waste? Where can I be more efficient? How can I deliver greater value to the organization? Or how can I deliver higher quality and all those different things as you're trying to be more efficient in software development and delivery. And that's the same in manufacturing, right? You're looking at the shop floor. How can I be more efficient in a cell? How can I make sure that I'm making sure things are flowing better? And that all goes back to end customer. So maybe that's a little too loquacious there, but it's the same thing that everybody's been saying, that what value stream management is.
I've heard many times people say, when I talk about value stream management, they say, oh, you mean flow? I'm like, okay, let's go back to the beginning. So yes, I mean flow, but I don't mean flow. And that is exactly what the challenge is. All right, so let's look at the adoption. This is from the DevOps Institute Upskilling IT 2022, which is also a company or a team I work with as Chief Research Officer. When we asked which disciplines or frameworks does your organization primarily apply within your IT environment today, you can see value stream management at 20% in terms of the application. That is about right. Now, we are not necessarily seeing how deep and how wide. So let's keep that as a grain of salt. But along the other ones, just in case you're interested, there's many other best practices there. If you're interested in that report, reach out to me. Happy to share that with you. But I thought this was quite important to understand. Now, as part of research and action in our recent research on the value stream management platforms, which we'll get to later, we also asked our survey constituents, who you can see is a fairly large sample size, what are the top 5 investment areas to invest in value stream management and in the value stream management platforms? And you can see here Provide metrics which show business value. That's one investment area or one reason why they would invest. They wanted to understand the cost across the value chain, the management of risks across value streams, understanding of time required, and the improved flow across the value chain. So again, on the right-hand side are the percentages of those who have given us those top 5. And those very much align with some of the conversations we already have and are essential for you to think through when you are adopting and going down this path of what are your goals and what are your investment areas for making this happen. Now, I do believe we have another poll. So I'm going to, so the poll is VSM leveraged within your organization? And there's a variety of different types of answers. Yes, yes across many, yes across some, just starting, done it but stopped it, or no. So if you want to, please give us your input, that would be great. And as we can see, as soon as Cody shares with us some of the answers, I'll keep going and we'll come back to it as soon as Cody puts it onto the screen. Let's see.
He got there quick. Quick.
Yes, Cody, you are fantastic, by the way. Compliments to you. So here we are seeing, let's see what we're seeing. Let's go from the bottom up. So there's 47% who say still coming in, 53% saying no, relative to leveraging VSM, done it but stopped it, 6%, just starting out at the beginning, 12%, yes across some value streams, yes across many value streams, and enterprise-wide. So 12 plus 18 is 30, plus 12 is 42. So 42 are doing it to some extent, and 53 are not.
You know what I would say is kind of interesting. You know what I would say in this scenario? Remember, I have manufacturing background, for a long time. Whether you say yes, no, or maybe or whatever, you're managing value streams. Your organization has them already.
Right? If you want or not.
Right? Organizational value streams, those are the flow of sales that go through, development values. They're already there. You just don't see them because they're the processes you use now to accomplish your goals. So as I look at this, it's really interesting from that kind of point of view that I come from my lens, right?
So
remember doing that value stream mapping just for your sales processes, value stream mapping for your order intake, value, so it's really interesting as the organization, as this VSM platform and marketplace begin, how that unique understanding comes from people like you and me who have walked shop floors and seen value. You're managing a value stream. Agile is a value stream in a way.
Yes, right? Absolutely.
So you're already doing it.
Absolutely. So interestingly, completely different perspective if we think about consciously leveraging it as a team and having roles assigned and actually doing it with the mapping and whatever else comes into the cycle. So right. that is a great way of thinking. So maybe you want to change your answer. You probably are, you must, because you have value streams. Are you consciously managing them with goals and objectives and improvements and looking for ways? Let's keep that in mind when Lance talks about the the value added and the non-value, because that's
kind of a tongue twister, isn't it?
Yes, it is a tongue twister. And for me as a native German, it's even more so than a tongue twister.
Well, you could say it in German if you
want. All right. So let's move on. I talked a little bit about this already, the challenges and barriers to digital transformation, but there's also challenges and barriers of the adoption of VSM. And again, in our research recently at Research in Action, here's what we found. So we have done this now for 2 years, and we see in 2020 much more executive buy-in challenges, much more budget constraints. In 21, it has changed. I don't have the 22 data, but we'll have that fairly soon. But you can see let's call it the barriers are getting less and less. They're still there. Don't know how to start. lack of process maturity, skills and resources, data privacy and compliance. Those are all typical challenges. Any guidance, Lance, on where you think, for example, executive buy-in, I think is a tough one, but it also could be an easy one to solve because it's about budget, right? Those two are related. Any comments on these barriers from you, Lance?
Yeah, so this is interesting. So how many times am I going to say this is interesting on your slides? That's what I want to know. But when you think about these barriers, when you think about executive buy-in, what are they trying to understand? What do they want? And what is it that value stream management can give to them? Well, if you think about the analytics and all those other things that value stream management has been putting forward, and more of what I call value management, and any value management platform should give you those analytics that you need to run your business. They want to know something that they haven't been able to know before that VSM can do. And that is, how do I become more predictable? How do I get information and insights and knowledge of what's going through the value stream is important to the business, right? And how am I making sure that I'm getting closer to my initiatives being delivered? That's part of that value stream. Well, value stream management analytics can give that to that executive. And then you think next to the next level of an executive understanding. They want to remove waste, and waste to them is money in their budget. It's cost, right? And now if you look at value stream management, you can remove waste, you can improve costs, you can be more efficient, and you can allocate things in the right way so that you're accomplishing not just your business goals, but you're doing that efficiently. You talk about budget constraints. Well, I don't know, because when I think about value stream management, and I think you probably guessed what I'm about to say, value stream management is human. So if you want to use value stream management principles and lean principles and systems thinking, there's no budget to that. Go learn it, understand it, use it to help your executives to be more efficient. And then hopefully you can get a value stream management platform with that, right? It's a human thing. No tool is going to know all the crazy things up in my head about lean, or my friend Andrew, who works with me here, and how to use system thinking in order to be more efficient in an organization. So there's not really a budget constraint. It's a mental kind of philosophical constraint, right? Don't know how to get started. Here's how you get started. Pick a value stream, map it, find waste, make recommendations to improve it. Very simple, right?
Very simple. Can I add something? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I add something quickly? On the budget constraints, I've heard this for, I don't know, over 20 years. I've been doing research and being an analyst. I sometimes think this is one of those lazy excuses for not actually starting something. And I wanted to add one more thing. When we think about the PMO, right, the Office of, in this case, Projects, which still exists in many organizations, they do have the ability to and have a budget when they start planning projects. So that sometimes has always given me a little bit, when I see budget constraints, I'm thinking, well, if you're starting out developing something, or you are changing something, or you are making whatever, a new innovation, there is a budget there. And as you said, investing in humans, they're already there, and they have in their knowledge base and their heads, they understand how these business processes work, how certain things happen, and how a new thing is being created. So budget constraints sometimes to me is a bit of a lazy excuse.
Yeah, I think so. And especially if you're thinking about buying a tool. If you're not buying a tool, then I get it.
Yes.
Right? But value stream management is human. So the budget is, there's a book, it's called Learning to See. I read it years ago, How to See Your Value Stream.
Yeah.
I think it's more expensive at $80, but go invest in yourself, and you'll be able to bring that to your organization, and that budget constraint would be there. And value stream management doesn't need a tool. I know I sell one, Connect All, we're a value stream management platform, and I'd love you all to buy it. But the truth is, once you buy it, if you don't know all these other things, which we're happy to help with too, and give you places, and that's why we do these thought leadership stuff, it's just going to be a tool.
Right.
It's just going to be there. So And then the other one, it's interesting, lack of maturity. Lack of maturity, that's because of, we've just been talking about it here in values in software development delivery for a shorter period of time, and some of the tools aren't mature. But value stream management is older than I am.
Yeah.
It's been around since the 40s, I believe the 40s, brought on by Toyota. It's lean thinking, map your value streams, seek flow, push, not pull. All of those concepts you can actually learn in that book called Learning to See, which has been around forever. It's based on manufacturing, but it absolutely applies, and you can use some of it. Skills and resources. Yeah, this is where I'm talking about people having the skills and understanding. So, and I think I talked about this earlier with you, and this is interesting because, and I just said this is interesting again. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that today, but this is fascinating. Is that better? This is fascinating. This is fascinating. My opinion is that most software development value streams and IT have grown organically in organizations. They haven't been constructed. So as a software developer or as a IT person or operations person, you haven't been trained on these techniques of understanding on how to make things flow right, how to design a value stream. When I was in IT in Turbine Blade, talk about it all the time, I worked for the controller and I was a cost center. So I never really got taught those skills until later on in my manufacturing career. It was thought of, oh, why do you need to go learn that? You just make sure the computers work, right? And then over time, it started to come, and I think it comes up more. So there is a lack of skill and resource in our industry on understanding the basics of value stream management, lean thinking, systems principle. And I'm excited to see it take off, and I'm excited to talk about it as well. And I don't know how data privacy and compliance fits. So
I would assume, well, the challenge there is, as there is integration from different types of capabilities, as I go broader than my own value stream, be it in the healthcare industry, for example. But there are advances in that where we have data standards and compliance and exchanges of data. For example, again, after COVID, we could do a variety of exchanges of data based on, the healthcare center with the doctor, with the pharmacy, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we're moving into the right direction. Excellent. Great comments.
My last point on this slide is, if you want to get executive buy-in, tell them that you can increase efficiency in software development by 40%. They'll be right there.
Yes. Okay, super. I have a few market trends to share, which I think Lance has already mentioned. So one, we know that the pressure is on to show the business value of technology more than ever. And when I say the value of technology, I don't just mean showing the business why you have adopted cloud and what it does, but this is in relationship to the digital transformations. How have you leveraged the improvements or the technology to make it easier to either improve customer experience or employee experience, or a process, make it more efficient, et cetera, et cetera. So this is certainly one market trend we're seeing. A second one is that value stream management is still confused with value stream mapping. And value stream mapping is a subset of value stream management, but you can do one without the other. Of course, in some cases, it makes sense to continue on down the value stream management path. But value stream mapping means that you understand what is your value stream, what are the inputs and the outputs. And back to what you were saying, Lance, when I started in IT, I was actually a data warehouse modeler, and we were doing data warehouses between Ingress and Oracle databases. And we had to do a lot of data models, and we had to do process models. And these process models gave me incredible knowledge on how, within the company I worked for, these value streams were connecting. We did this because our CIO came in from Walmart at the time, and this is really early 90s. And his background was retail, and his background was value stream management from a perspective of retail, and that's why we did it. So back to what you were saying earlier, why we adopted it there.
Well, I have I'm good with the interesting one-line statements on that. I'm always have these little one-line statements. The moment you start mapping your value stream, you're now doing value stream management.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
So, I mean, it's all goes hand in hand.
Agree. Another important trend to recognize is that we need both the internal and external perspective of both non-value added and value added work. And Lance will talk a little bit about that. So you need to really understand and see to get end-to-end visibility. You have to have a measure. And to some extent, you need some automation to create efficiency. And again, we're not here to necessarily dive too deep into the automation of the value stream in itself, because that's really would be beyond and above and beyond our scope, because there's many capabilities which need to be automated. What we are at the end of this cover a little bit is the management platform for value stream. Mm-hmm. All right. Another trend is there is, of course, and Lance, you mentioned that you do need metrics, but they need to be smart. And smart is a really old, what is it? It's not a TLA, it's a FLA, because it has 5-letter acronyms. SMART stands for specific. It needs to be measurable, it needs to be actionable, it needs to be real, and it needs to be timely. If your metrics are not smart, they don't help you, because they are either leading or lagging, and they're yesterday, and they're not necessarily aiding you and helping you to advance. That's a very good recipe for success, to leverage smart metrics. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, so I just was at the Agile conference, 2022 Agile conference last week. And what was interesting is we started to talk about analytics and metrics. That this theme kind of came out was some of these metrics are really great that are coming from value stream management platforms and other places, but they look at them and they don't know what to do. They're not actionable. You know, what do I do with that? So what we're focused on at Connect All is actually bringing the context of it. So when I'm looking at like the flow metrics of what's in my value stream, how do I know what to do with that? How do I adjust that? Or my deployment frequency is low. Does it really matter? Who knows? So you see these beautiful charts and graphs, but how do they really become, like you said here, actionable? Something that I can do something with. And that's what we're looking at Connect All here. And that was our learning from the conference. And I think that's what you're saying here, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Our platform at Connect All, we can get you any analytics out of any tool you want and present anything you need. However, we really got to work with you to understand what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Exactly. Contextual. And as you said, again, actionable. And contextual means also, of course, relative to my role. So if I am in a operations role, site reliability role, or a service management role, my contextual work and what I need to do is different than when I am a developer, or I'm a tester, or I'm an architect, or I'm a project manager, or I'm a product manager. And so that contextually, that context is important, but it has to be connected. It cannot be orthogonal. And I think that's sometimes happening, what I see with organizations. They leverage, and this has been forever the challenge, right? The metrics either are too high level and you cannot measure them, like service level agreements, SLOs, service level objectives, and service level indicators. They can all be written easily, but how do you measure them? And then how and what actions are you actually deriving from them to make sense? So that's a very, very important point.
Absolutely.
Let's see what else we have. A little bit on roles and titles. And I'm curious what you see, but what we are seeing in research and in connecting with a variety of folks out there are tons and tons of different titles who are able to or are getting into this topic. So we have seen value stream analyst, value stream engineer, value stream architect, value stream lead, value stream manager, even a chief value stream manager. Sometimes I think, this is my comment, and then I'll turn it over to you, Lance, what your thoughts are.
I'm going to agree with you. Go right ahead.
Sometimes I think we make this too big of a deal, right? I mean, yes, you need a title, and because you need some kind of a scope, and you need some kind of you need a role, and it needs to be defined, and you need to understand of what you need to do. But sometimes we make it too difficult to create a new particular role. There is a huge landscape of roles out there, and it depends from company to company. If I work at company A, I might be called a value stream analyst, and at company B, I might be called a value stream architect, because that's the language they use. Important is that you know what your responsibilities are, and that you actually become an evangelist for the topic, and that you're actually applying the principles of lean value stream management, that you understand what it is, that you train yourself, and you continue to stay up to date. That's really my perspective. Anything to add?
Mine is the same. I mean, titles and roles and things are interesting, but here's the thing that hits me in the head as I'm thinking about this, and I get this question asked all the time in software development and delivery. Who does this? It's a person. Remember, we believe it's human, right? At Connect All, value stream management's human. So a human has to look at the value stream and figure out how to improve and map it and do all that. In software development and delivery, who does it? In manufacturing, we had value stream managers. Actually, in around 2000 came, we had process engineers, we had all this stuff in manufacturing. It doesn't quite exist in this way in software development and delivery. And I'm wondering where it's going to end up. Is it going to be, in manufacturing, usually it's the materials manager, those types of people that work really closely with the shop floor people to improve flow or make their cells more efficient and do all that. So this is still a question, I think, that I don't have an answer for. But I do know that it's not software developers. They need to get to doing the value-added work that they're there to do, and everybody else should be removing waste for them. And we'll probably talk about that more in a little bit. But who? Is it an operations person, a PMO? Is it who should be doing this? Now, I think it's the development leaders, like software development leaders, leaders of their organizational pieces. But maybe there does need to be a specific thing, specific type of person. And I called them value stream leaders in the past. And they have to understand the governance model. They have to understand how all things flow in the organization and have enough organizational provenance in order to affect change. Otherwise, it's just a feckless position.
Exactly. I was going to say my prediction is that it is becoming if I think of a RACI chart, right? Responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. On the R, the responsible, we have to have somebody who has this R of making sure that there is governance, making sure there is communication, maybe they're understanding what is the benefits and achieving the goals and so on. But the accountability is to all of us who are part of the value stream, who are participating, right? From the beginning, and I don't like those types which are I like circles. From the beginning, all the way to the beginning back and into the spirit of continuous improvement to the top right. All of us have the accountability. Consulting, the C, to some extent, could be folks who come in as value stream coach, like you guys do at Connect All. You guys have coaches who can come in, or there could be others. And then the influencers are potentially business leads who are not necessarily participating in the value stream, but maybe are somehow recipients or beneficiaries of the value stream, or are somewhere in the ecosystem. That's my prediction, that's what's going to happen in the future.
I agree. And I agree with your continuous improvement. Everybody's responsible for that.
Yeah.
And they all should be working together. But who's going to correlate that, make recommendations, affect change? And that's got to be somebody in the organization that is a value stream leader in a way.
Well, we do see the term product manager quite a bit too, right? That term has started to become quite popular. And maybe this is an in-between, right? Maybe a product manager who is somebody who owns that particular value stream or product, measuring its success and then feeding it back to, in the spirit of, maybe DevOps or whatever, in Agile to the rest of the team members.
I'll have to think about that one because, I'm pretty succinct on what product managers do. And having to be that detailed into how things move to production, they probably don't have that knowledge.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult position. It is.
Yeah.
It requires somebody who knows a lot. But
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how it unfolds in our market.
Yeah, we should think about a research project maybe next year, beginning of next year. Could be interesting to trace. Oh, there is something for our Christmas presents.
There you go.
All right. I think this one is the next 3 slides. I think are yours, so I'll be quiet for a minute.
Well, yeah. So, I think to start all the way back to what we started with a topic here, right, is understanding how to look at things from a value added or non-value added point of view. And there's is but necessary as well. So when you're looking at how you're developing software, and as you're looking at the activities of everybody in the software development process and delivery process, some of those are value added and non-value added. And I know it's really hard because when I first started on this bandwagon, people were coming at me going, well, security scans are value added and it must be done and we have to have. Well, the truth is security scans develop rework. And rework is non-value added now, but extremely necessary. I'm not saying not to do that. It's an extremely necessary thing. But when you look from idea to code to production, there are all types of things and steps that you're doing there. And some of them are value added and some of them are not. And what it's important to do is look at how you can automate those non-value added but necessary. Look at how you can reduce rework and rework and all that goes across anything. Like our marketing team, I was talking today about how much rework they have, and that's not value added. And how do we change that? So when you think about it, throughout every one of those processes, there are non-value added activities that can just be eliminated too. One I like to talk about is they were having a defect report. I did a whole mapping session with a company once, and at the end, all the testers would get together, review all the defects, and then send them back. That was just a non-value added. You should just send them back. It'll be okay. Maybe do a quick review with a pair on writing it or something, but you don't need to have a weekly meeting about the defects you found. You should just send them back so there's real-time iteration and development. So that's a non-value added activity. And I could challenge everybody to look at how they're developing software. And I'll tell you, you're going to find non-value added activities that grew organically over time. Now, again, like I said, a lot of them are essential. And you can look at through different matrices as you look at everything that you're doing. And it's interesting because a lot of times, that's 5, right? It's when you look at this, you don't even need a value stream map to look at this. I've recommended possibly using a thing called a SIPOC. And you can look it up. That's supplier, customer, process, output, customer, to look at your processes within your value stream and determine which one of those things that you're doing is non-value added. A lot of times copying data around between different tools, that's non-value added. Getting reports from here and then going back there, a lot of the human runaround, which is non-value added as well. So you look at your organization and you got to decide what is the value added activities, and that is requirements analysis for what the customer wants, and you've got it out here really nice. Design, coding. Actually, coding is value added. Requesting a server from ServiceNow and operations and doing all of that, that's non-value added to the customer.
Get a service catalog.
Right? Right? Automate it. It's necessary. Yeah. I need something to code against. Yes, absolutely. But it's non-value added. This one, I love when I say this one, people get, I think people get a little offended on this. Quality control is non-value added. Finding defects and creating rework is non-value added. Now, don't get me wrong. That's extremely necessary to deliver good quality products, and you needed to be doing all the testing and all those things you need to do in order to be more efficient. But how about building quality into the way you write the code when you're developing it in that value-added process and time?
So left shifting.
Yeah.
Much of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the interesting thing, and another kind of tangent on this, now when you think about finding value-added and non-value-added activities in a digital transformation, not so much software development delivery. If you go map your value stream, and then look at ways people are doing things across your organization, not just software, you will start to find and uncover these non-value added activities that can be handled by automating and being more efficient.
Can I go to the next slide?
Yeah. Oh, is that on the next slide?
Yeah, I think so. I think we covered that one. I think it's actually the next slide, right?
Okay. All right, I'll come back to you.
I think this one. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's exactly the point I'm trying to make. Now, software development delivery, we talked about how to look at that, but look through your organization from order intake to customer shipping. Look at all of those processes, and you can figure out places where they can be digitally reproduced and automated. And then now you're starting to do a digital transformation. Not just do I have a better website or can I put in better documents? It's how are people doing work in your organization?
Yeah.
And then automate that. And that's part of what I think of a digital transformation because of my manufacturing background, right? We were automating, putting computers on shop floors, putting them in the right place for data capture, getting rid of paper. I've got great stories on corrective actions, they were called. And I had this one thing, and we went into I said, well, why are you putting that on paper? Just put it into the computer. Well, there was a corrective action 20 years ago where I have to write this on paper. And then you also want me to put it in the computer. Well, why don't we talk to our customer who was Pratt Whitney for Turbine Blades, say, why don't we send them a computer email? And then you don't have to do this. You can remove that non-value added activity of putting it on paper and then putting it in the computer. Oh, no. We don't want to talk to the customer. Let's just do what they want. But anyway, we did correct that. And, it made that particular part more efficient. That's where they were packing the blades and putting them out. And we would find places just by looking around the shop floor, inside our internal stuff, on how to do digital. And this is when I think about digital transformation. It's all of these things in your organization to be effective. And removing non-value added activities in the end. And you can see that most processes, just like this said, 97% are non-value added.
Wow. That's incredible. That is mind-boggling. It makes me think of some work I have to do on a recent process I went through on creating a document, because there were quite a few things which are non-value added. Hopefully we can figure that out. Let's see, there is this particular slide. Is there any more you want to add to this one here?
Yeah, so this is about your total time into a process, right? And this is where I like SIPOCs, because you can look at times for each little thing, right? It's like the value stream map just shows a higher level, and it shows in and out of different what I would call cells in manufacturing, right? A part comes into a cell, and it goes there. That could be idea, requirement, definition, code, but you want to go even a step further into it and look at, okay, what is really happening here? So an order comes in to my idea, into ideas, right? It comes by email. Somebody codes it in, right? Types it into the Jira. Well, why don't we just give access to the person sending the email to our Jira to just put it right in there? Now I'm removing waste, right? Now there's all these other steps that you don't even know that are in your value stream that are taking time. I had to request a server. There's dependencies in here as well. I had to request a server. That server came back. Well, how about I put a task in the Jira and it happens automatically, digitally. And I'm starting to look how to remove waste. And, there are essential things that you need to do. Security scans. I want to come back to say that I did not say that's not important. I said it's non-value added, but essential. And there's a lot of other essential things you do. And you want to figure out how to shorten the time on those essential things. And that's going to give you more percentage of time on working on value added things. And the interesting thing is I'm working on an article now about why is value stream management important to developers. It's not. It shouldn't be in your stand-up, shouldn't be in your scrums. But what you should know as a developer is there's somebody looking at how to remove these non-value added activities so you can do the thing you like to do, and that's write good code, right? And do that is the value added activity. There's somebody in your organization that's figuring out, how do I have security scans happen automatically? How do I do testing as code is submitted, all those different things in the different parts of the pipeline. How do I, at the portfolio level, how do I shorten approval time for a thing? How do I reduce the amount of documentation we think we need in order to be effective, right? There should be somebody there that's doing that to make that effective for yourself. So if you look at it, use two tools. Use Value Stream Map, use a SciPoc to really lay it out. And then you'll start to see that there's waste, even within those smaller processes, that you can remove that are non-value added, that'll make you more efficiency, and then they'll help you stand up to that commitment I said earlier about telling your executives that you can remove 40% of the time it takes in your system, and you become more predictable for them as well.
So call out to the developers. If you see non-value add, mention it to your partners, collaborate with them, show them, share with them, let them know. That's what I would add. Let's see. We have another poll, Cody, I think.
So in the
before
Toyota
we go,
production system, just the last point on your point.
Yeah.
And the Toyota production system, the responsibility of the managers is to listen to the people who are doing the work and help them be more efficient in their cells and how they do it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we want to know, have you ever classified your software development processes in terms of value added and non-value added activities? Yes or no? And I'm now thinking of Vanna White, who is going across the board, and it's this little sound bell, right? Dum, 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 whatever. I can't sing.
I'll fake turn the letters for you.
Yeah. Yes. There we go. Thank you. While we wait for that, wow, great. Anybody out there who is answering, you guys are wonderful. And thanks, Cody, for helping us here. So
that's more yeses
yes,
I thought.
Yeah, there's more. Yes, I agree. 31% still coming in. Actually, very good. I mean, surprise. Aha. Wow. Yeah. Fantastic. That's great. Keep doing this. Tell all your friends. Tell your grandma. No, just kidding. Tell those who are what you're working with in your communities, because that's really important and the point we wanted to make. So this is great. Conscious of time, we've got 8 minutes left, and I promised Cody that I will give everybody a 5-minute break before they go on to their next meeting or their next whatever. So let's see what else we have in the deck. There's quite a few things in here which I am not planning on taking too much time, because this is really self-explanatory, and our marketing friend Tim, who might be listening in, has actually put and Cody has put the deck up into the platform so you can actually download them. Here's just a quick definition. We talked about automation of a value stream management platform, what it is. You'll read that on your own time. There are a variety of trends around the vendors, which is really where I do a lot of work and do a lot of studying. If you have questions on that, or if you have questions on Connect All, we have our contact details at the end. Here are some of the must-haves or expected outcomes from what people are asking for management platforms to have. So that, again, is prioritized. You can see that slide, quite important. And then last but not least, as I promised you, we did evaluate a variety of value stream management platforms. And of course, Connect All has achieved some great 4.41 in strategy out of 5 and 4.49 in execution out of 5. You can see here a little bit of a survey, a little summary on them. If you're interested in more detail, again, feel free to reach out to both of us. We are both on LinkedIn. We're both on Twitter. We have our emails there, and we both are we're busy, but we are very excited. As I said, Lance is the most passionate person on this topic I have met. He always has some guidance for me if I'm stuck on some topic. He always has something interesting to say. He said interesting 6 times today, which next time we will have to bring that down. And he mentioned the book, so your $25 gift certificate, you should maybe apply for that book. What was the book again you were saying, Lance?
Learning to See.
Learning to See.
Interestingly, it's Learning to See.
Learning to See. I will actually get that. It's not in my portfolio. I don't think so. I will have to check it out. Cody, anything from you coming back? We do have some time for questions. So if there's one, maybe we should go to the questions. Is there anything which came in?
Sure. So I do have one here for you. Actually, I have two. So let me see which one I think might be the most broad. So we have many other competing projects. How do we make this a priority for our leadership?
If you're thinking from a tool perspective, it's going to give them insights into those other projects and which ones to prioritize. But when I sit back to value stream management is human, I would say that the priority is to be more efficient with those, and using value stream management principles is something you learn and do. So that's a tough one. I don't know if I answered that well. I'm going to let you have a shot at it.
I think you have no option. I think this is the way of going forward. I really think putting together a business case or putting together a case study where you can bring the efficiency and what you can do might help in that situation. There is lots of course, always competing priorities and projects if I think of it in the bigger perspective. But are those really, and maybe that is the applying of value stream management to those things. Are we actually working on the right things, right? Again, in light of digital transformation, are we converting to something, or are we doing something for what? And that's, I think, the $1 million question. When we look at from the outside in, which is from the customer inwards. And I think this is what IKEA did well. I think this is what Caterpillar did well. I think this is what Lego did well. I think this is what Disney did well. You could argue on the Disney case. But they did listen to their customers and understand that some of their experiences they had weren't the way they were. And that is a valid reason to maybe drop some other projects. And I think applying that rule is what we're doing overall from a portfolio perspective of innovations we're making and investments we're having or making. Are those the right ones? That is a C-level conversation, but it also needs to be partnered with the data and the knowledge from both customer experience and employee experience. That would be the analyst answer.
I have a one-line answer like I normally do.
You do. I can see that smile.
Are those projects value added or non-value added, and use these principles to decide?
I love that. And now I just remembered something I will share with you later on, not in this podcast, in this webinar. Cody, I think we have used all the time. Thank you all. Thanks, Lance, for being here. You did fantastic. I never was worried a moment about and with it for you. Cody, I appreciate your time, and Techstrong, of course. Thanks for having us, and looking forward to maybe getting some questions, getting some tweets, connect with us on LinkedIn. And Tim, if you're listening in, thanks again. We'll be in touch soon. Have a great rest of the week.
Talk with you.
Thank you all. Take care.
Evelyn and Lance, thank you both so much. There was actually one poll we didn't get to, so we're not going to have time to go over the results, but I am going to go ahead and launch it just so we can have your answers for our information. So feel free to answer that. We'd really appreciate that. But to Lance and Evelyn, again, thank you so much. I would like to remind our audience that this session was recorded. So maybe you joined us late, or maybe you're not hearing me right now and you had to leave us a little bit early. This session was recorded, and you will find a copy of it living on the DevOps website at devops.com/webinars. Be sure to look in the on-demand section, but you should also receive a link by email. So we do have those 4 $25 Amazon gift cards to give away. Our first winner is Robin G. Our second winner is Steve P. Our third winner, Henry S. And our fourth winner, Alex A. So to the 4 of you, congratulations. please keep an eye on your inbox to claim that gift card. But if you don't see that email, just check your spam folder. I would like to thank Connect All for sponsoring today's webinar. And of course, before we close, to our audience, we really appreciate you spending time with us. We ask for one extra moment of your time to fill out a brief post-webinar survey that will pop up on your screen here in just a moment. But otherwise, we do hope to see you at an upcoming Techstrong Learning workshop or webinar. Everyone, have a great rest of your day. And Evelyn, Lance, thank you.
I didn't win again.